30, before sustainability was even coined as a phrase. So we have a long history of this, and this is very much embedded into the culture of the business. So it actually makes this quite perhaps more of an easy challenge for us than perhaps some of our competitors. The way we approach this is through a concept called the product journey, and carbon footprinting is just one element of our journey towards more sustainable products. So included in the product journey are the ethical and other environmental and social issues which we consider throughout our development process. It's probably best illustrated by this diagram here, which shows the product journey in its essence. It's a typical cradle-to-cradle life cycle of a product, right from concept to acquiring your raw materials, production, distributing to the store, retailing. And then very important is the consumer use phase as well, understanding what our customers do with our products when they get them home and what they do with them at the end of their life. We have to consider all these areas throughout the whole spectrum of sustainable development in any of the products we are selling. Okay, so why look at carbon footprint? And more importantly, why low carbon shampoo? Well, we chose to do our work on shampoo for two reasons. One is it was a product which we manufactured internally, so I've shown you recently we were able to actually look at the supply chain of the shampoo within our own grasp, if you like. That made it perhaps a test bed, a more easy subject to look at. Secondly, shampoo is a sort of basic everyday product. We didn't want to sort of work on a niche product, a new, like, green product. We wanted to look at an everyday product that everybody uses. And I think shampoo is an ideal example there. The other thing that drove us to look at carbon footprinting were market research starting to emerge, such as a survey that Murray did recently. And interestingly, there are surveys which say that 2/3 of people are concerned about the carbon footprint of the carbon impact of products they buy. This one actually says that 78% of people personally want to do more to mitigate the effects of climate change. And this is quite important when the messages are coming out from the media, from government, that the big impacts of things like driving cars, air transport, all those sorts of things, where people tend to feel a bit powerless about, well, what can I do about it? I've got to get the kids to school, there's no public transport, I've been told that driving cars is bad for the environment, what do I do? So I think that they can look at sort of smaller, more easy to achieve targets which they can do themselves. That's not only satisfying their desire to be involved in this whole process of mitigating the effects of climate change, it also makes them feel better about the products themselves when they buy them. So that's good for retailers such as ourselves. This is quite a strong driver to make us invest in this area and do work in this area. The approach we took to measuring the carbon footprint of shampoo followed the product journey diagram I showed you earlier. So basically, looking at the whole supply chain of shampoo, right from development through all those phases there, and including, very importantly, the consumer use phase and the disposal phase. And this is the work which is a sort of diagram of what we had to do to measure the carbon footprint of a typical shampoo product. But as you can see, it's not sort of an easy process, it's quite complex. Each of those building blocks there, we had to take measurements of the energy and carbon impact of all those building blocks. Right over there on the left, you've got all the ingredients that go into the shampoo and into its packaging, plus the transportation phases. You've got the various manufacturing steps, distribution steps, consumer use phase, and then final disposal. And this was a piece of work that we carried out with the Carbon Trust at the back of last year to actually do the measurement of these products. And also, as well as just measuring the products themselves, we looked into options for improving them. We looked at options for actually minimising or reducing our carbon footprint at the same time as the measurement phase. So what were the results? Well, first of all, the interesting result here is that if you look at the overall carbon footprint of shampoo, 93% of that is the consumer use phase. Just as Richard was, from MS was saying earlier about the washing instructions on clothes, the consumer use phase here is vitally important. And I won't say that every product the consumer use phase is important. If you take a packet of crisps, for example, there's not a lot of energy used in eating the crisps. But in the case of shampoo, the hot water you use to wash your hair, the frequency of wash, the amount of water you use, the generation method that's used for heating water in the home, all add up to that 93%. Now, it is obviously very variable because of all those factors I've just mentioned, people carry them out differently using different methods. But on average, 93% of the footprint of shampoo comes from the consumer use phase. If you take that out of the equation, we then see sort of drill down into sort of things that boosts ourselves can influence. And excluding consumer use, 66% of the carbon footprint of a shampoo comes from the raw materials, and of that, 58% is packaging. That's a bit unexpected to us when we did this. We were expecting actually the raw materials in the shampoo itself to have quite a high impact, but actually the packaging is a major impact there. And surprisingly, things like the impact of retailing and disposal are fairly low. Although it says naught by retail, there was actually a percentage there. It's like, I think 0.03%. I'm just going to come up on that graph, but quite low percentages in those activities. So what do we do with that information? Well, those results we found back at the end of 2006. In the first half of this year, we worked with Carbon Trust on their carbon labelling programme. And in March, the Carbon Trust launched their carbon footprint label, which you can see down on the bottom left of this piece of point of sale material we've been developing. And because we've done the work on the shampoo measurements, we worked with the Carbon Trust to actually look at carbon labelling the products which we measured. And we wanted to do two things. We wanted to use this label to indicate where we've made reductions and also to help consumers address issues themselves. So the label actually acts as a lead-in to a piece of marketing to actually move this message out to consumers. Now, the main thing on this product sale material you'll see is that we made a statement there saying we reduced the carbon footprint of metallic shampoo by 20%. Okay, so how can we say that? Well, first of all, we can reduce 10% of the carbon footprint of shampoo by changing the packaging materials to incorporate post-consumer recycled plastic. The bottles used for our shampoo is made from PET, and actually by good luck, we have just concluded a study with the government organisation RAP, the Waste and Resources Action Programme, to incorporate 30% post-consumer recycled material into the packaging, which we actually manufacture ourselves in Nottingham. That was a very successful project. Not only did it obviously increase recycling rates, but it actually made the shampoo bottles cheaper because we were able to buy the recycled material at a lower price than virgin. And in addition, we were very pleased to discover as well, it also had a good impact on our carbon footprint. So 10% of that reduction came from the use of recycled PET packaging. The other 10% came from another project we were working on, which was to re-engineer our supply chain. Approximately 80% of the products we distribute to stores will now go to a new supply chain where we're eliminating transit packaging and using these reusable containers, and we're also stripping out a layer of warehousing in between factory and store. The shampoos will be part of that 80%, and they will go through the new supply chain, and that has led to another 10% reduction in the footprint. What we did, we calculated the reduction in supply chain carbon back to a single bottle of shampoo, and that's led to that 10% reduction. There is actually more that we can do. For example, within the factory, there's between production batches, there's a washing out procedure which requires the use of hot water and steam to wash manufacturing vessels. We haven't actually instigated this project yet, but we will be, and that can lead to further reductions in carbon footprint by changing the water temperatures and the amount of steam cleaning that's required. It's a bit like, I think somebody